You wake up one morning and it's gone. Not the pain, not the scar, not the person, just the memory. What if I told you that right now, in real laboratories across the world, scientists are developing a pill, an actual real pill that could reach into your brain, find a specific memory, and erase it forever? Not your whole memory, not your personality, not who you are. Just that one thing. The accident, the abuse, the betrayal. The thing that wakes you up at 3 a.m. and won't let you breathe. Gone. Sounds like a dream, right? Maybe even a miracle. But here's what nobody is telling you. If you could delete your worst memory, would you still be you? And what happens when someone else gets to decide which memories you lose? This isn't science fiction anymore. This is happening.
Welcome back to the channel where we take the most mind-bending questions in science, drag them into the real world, and show you exactly how close we already are to living inside a sci-fi movie. If you're new here, where have you been? Hit subscribe. You are going to want to be here for this one. Today's topic, we are going deep, like neurochemistry of the human soul deep. We're talking about a real, scientifically backed pill concept already being tested on humans that could locate a specific memory inside your brain and switch it off. We're going to break down exactly how it works, the real studies that prove it's possible, and the absolutely terrifying ways it could be used against you without you ever knowing. And at the very end of this video, I'm going to tell you something that the researchers themselves have admitted, something so disturbing about what happens after a memory is erased that I genuinely debated whether to include it. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might not want to forget after all.
Okay, before we get into the terrifying stuff, and trust me, we will, let's talk about how memory actually works, because to understand how a pill could delete one, you first need to understand how your brain builds one. Every single memory you have, your first kiss, your worst nightmare, your mother's voice, exists as a physical structure inside your brain. It's called a memory engram, and it's basically a network of neurons, brain cells, that fire together every time you remember something. There's an old saying in neuroscience, neurons that fire together, wire together. The more you revisit a memory, the stronger those connections become. That's why trauma is so hard to forget. Your brain has literally reinforced those neural pathways over and over, like carving a groove into wood. Now here's where it gets interesting. When something deeply emotional happens to you, something terrifying, heartbreaking, or traumatic, your brain releases a flood of stress chemicals, cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine. These chemicals act like a highlighter on that memory. They tell your brain, this is important, remember this, burn it in. And your brain obeys every single time. Here's the key. Scientists discovered something remarkable about memory in the early 2000s. Every time you remember something, your brain actually has to rebuild that memory from scratch. It's called memory reconsolidation. And it means that for a brief window, just a few hours after you recall a memory, that memory becomes unstable, vulnerable, almost editable. Think of it like this. Imagine your memory is a Word document saved on your hard drive. It's locked, safe, permanent. But every time you open that document to read it, for just a few minutes, it's open, unsaved, and someone with the right tool could reach in and change it. That's exactly what certain drugs can do. The drug that's furthest along in research is called propranolol. It's actually a common blood pressure medication, already FDA approved, that blocks norepinephrine, that stress chemical that burns emotional memories into your brain. When you take propranolol right after recalling a traumatic memory, the emotional charge attached to that memory fades. The facts might remain, but the pain, the terror, dramatically reduced. Other compounds being studied, like ZIP and experimental PKM-zeta inhibitors, go even further. They don't just dull the emotion, they begin to dissolve the memory structure itself. This, one pill, taken at the right moment, could change what your brain considers real. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds like a theory, like something from a research paper nobody reads. So let's talk about the real people, the real trials, the real results that changed everything. Case 1. United States military veterans. In 2007, researchers at McGill University in Canada ran a study on patients with severe PTSD. These were people whose traumatic memories were so powerful, so physically debilitating, that normal therapy had failed them completely. They were given propranolol right after being asked to recall their trauma, just once, in a clinical setting. The results were staggering. When patients returned a week later and recalled the same memory, their physiological stress response, heart rate, sweat, fear signals, had dropped by over 50%. The memory was still there, but it had lost its grip. For the first time in years, some of these patients could think about what happened to them without their body going into full panic mode. For many of them, it was the first relief they had felt in over a decade. Case 2. Addiction. Here's something most people don't know about addiction. It isn't just a chemical dependency. It's a memory problem. Every craving an addict feels is triggered by a memory, a smell, a place, a song, a face. These cues are burned into the brain's reward system so deeply that even years after quitting, they can trigger an overwhelming urge to relapse. Scientists at the University of Cambridge found that by targeting the memory reconsolidation window with specific drugs, they could disrupt those cue-triggered memories in recovering addicts. Not remove the memory of using drugs, but sever the emotional pull that memory created. In animal trials, previously addicted rats, who would press a lever thousands of times to get cocaine, almost completely stopped seeking the drug after memory reconsolidation was disrupted. Now imagine that translated to humans. Millions of people in recovery, freed from the one thing that keeps dragging them back. Case 3. The problem nobody wants to talk about. In 1994, psychologist Elizabeth Loftus conducted one of the most disturbing studies in memory science history. She convinced 25% of adult participants that they had been lost in a shopping mall as a child, a memory that had never actually happened. With just a few leading conversations, just a little subtle suggestion, she implanted a false memory so convincing that participants described it in vivid emotional detail. Some even cried. Now combine that with a drug that makes memory unstable and editable during reconsolidation, and you don't just have a tool for healing, you have a tool for rewriting a person's past. Here are 3 facts that will make you question everything. First, memory is not a recording. Every time you remember something, your brain reconstructs it, which means every memory you have has already been slightly changed dozens of times. Second, the US DARPA, the military's research division, has an active program called RAM, Restoring Active Memory, that is working on technology to both record and restore specific memories in soldiers with brain injuries. They are not just studying this, they are funding it. Third, in 2019, scientists at the Salk Institute successfully implanted an artificial memory into a mouse's brain using light pulses to activate specific neurons, a memory of a place the mouse had never been. The science to delete memories, implant memories, and rewrite memories already exists in primitive form. The question was never, can we do this? The question is, who gets to decide which memories stay? I want you to forget the science for a moment. Forget the labs, forget the studies. Forget the neurons and the chemicals. I want you to just feel this. Her name is Sarah. She's 34, and 7 years ago, something happened to her that she has never, not once, been able to stop thinking about. She's tried therapy, medication, moving cities, changing her name, starting over. Nothing works. Because the memory is always there, waiting, every time she closes her eyes. One morning, her doctor hands her a small white pill. This will not change who you are, he says. It will not take away what you learned or the strength you built. It will only remove the pain attached to that night. Sarah takes the pill, and for the first time in 7 years, she sleeps through the night. Is that wrong? Is that a violation of something sacred about human experience? Or is that just medicine? We let surgeons remove tumors from the brain. We let psychiatrists chemically alter mood and perception every single day. Why is a painful memory somehow more sacred than a cancerous cell? Marcus is 28. He did 2 tours. He came home, but part of him didn't. He doesn't talk about what he saw. He doesn't have to. You can see it in how he flinches at car backfires, how he never sits with his back to a door, how his wife has learned not to touch him while he's sleeping. The military offers him the memory treatment as part of a new veteran wellness program. It's voluntary, they say. But here's the hypothetical that should make you deeply uncomfortable. What if it wasn't? What if a soldier, before deployment, was required to pre-consent to memory erasure upon return to protect them from PTSD, the Army says. Sounds compassionate, right? Until you realize that those same memories of what they witnessed, what orders they followed, what was done in whose name, are also the memories that fuel whistleblowers, war crime testimony, accountability. A soldier who can't remember what happened, can't testify about what happened. Who benefits from that? Here's a lighter one. Or is it? Imagine a couple, together for 12 years. They split, painfully, messily, the way long loves always end. One of them takes the pill, erases the worst of it. The fights, the betrayal, the grief, they heal faster. They move on. They're okay. But the other one didn't take the pill. They remember everything, every beautiful moment, every promise, every version of the person they loved. They are now living in 2 completely different emotional realities about the same relationship. One person's love story has been partially deleted. The other is still living inside it. Is that fair? Is that even the same breakup anymore? And now, the one that should keep you up at night. It starts small. A court ruling. Memory-altering treatment can be offered to convicted criminals as an alternative to incarceration. Erase the violent impulse, they say. Rehabilitate through neuroscience. Then insurance companies stop covering PTSD therapy for veterans who refuse the pill. Then employers begin asking, quietly, informally, whether candidates have undergone memory optimization. Then a government, somewhere, decides that civil unrest is a public health issue, that the memory of oppression is what fuels resistance, that for the sake of peace and stability, certain collective memories need to be managed. This is not a new idea. Every authoritarian system in history has understood one fundamental truth: control the memory, control the people. They just had to do it with books and history lessons and propaganda. Imagine what they could do with a pill. I promised you something at the beginning of this video. I told you there was something that the researchers themselves have admitted. Something so unsettling that I wasn't sure I should include it. Here it is. In 2012, a team of neuroscientists published a landmark paper on memory reconsolidation and pharmacological erasure. Groundbreaking work, celebrated globally, but buried in the discussion section, not in the abstract, not in the headline findings, in the quiet part that most journalists never read. One of the lead researchers wrote something that has haunted the memory science community ever since. We cannot currently determine whether the process of targeted memory attenuation also affects adjacent, non-targeted memories in ways that are not immediately measurable. The possibility of collateral memory degradation affecting identity-forming recollections beyond the intended target cannot be ruled out. In plain language, they don't actually know where the memory ends. You think you're deleting one thing, one night, one face, one moment, but memory doesn't work in files. It works in webs. Your worst memory is connected to the song that was playing, the smell of rain, your mother's voice calling you home,
the feeling of a specific kind of fear that later taught you wisdom, the moment you decided to become stronger. Pull one thread, and they don't know how many others unravel with it. Here is the question I want to leave you with, and I mean this seriously. I want you to sit with this after the video ends. Would you still be you without your worst memories? Because every scar you carry also taught you something. Every heartbreak built something in you that joy never could. Every failure rewired your brain toward wisdom, caution, empathy. The version of you sitting here right now, watching this video, thinking these thoughts, was built by everything that hurt you. So yes, the pill is coming. Maybe in 10 years, maybe in 5, maybe sooner than any of us are ready for. And when it arrives, the world will celebrate it as a miracle. And maybe it is. But before you swallow it, I want you to ask yourself one question. If you erase the pain, do you also erase the person it made you? That's the video, and honestly, this one got to me while writing it. If this made you think, even for 1 second, about how fragile and precious and weird human memory actually is, then do me one favor. Share this video with one person, just one, someone who you think needs to hear this question today. Drop in the comments, would you take the pill, yes or no, and tell me why. I read every single one. If you're new here, and this is the kind of content that makes your brain hurt in the best possible way, subscribe. We do this every week. Next week, we're asking a question that is somehow even more disturbing than this one. What if AI could predict the exact moment you're going to die, and it's already running? I'll see you there.